going to be making a flowy dress or a ruffled dress. I think it's gonna have a circle skirt, something like that, and then kind of like a cottagecore type top with flowy sleeves. And I'm going to be using a flat sheet that I got from the thrift store. I think it's a queen size, so let's get into it. Here's the sleeve, and here I'm just pinning it down and cutting it out. Snip, snip, snip. Some more cutting. Alright, here I pinned the two sleeves together so I could cut both out at the same time. And here is the back that I am cutting out now. I pinned it on a fold. And yep, I'm just cutting it out. And here I'm pinning on the pattern for the front part that I will gather, and it's about 3 times that piece of newspaper in length. And I put it on a fold and then moved it down and put it on a fold again, if that makes sense. And then here you can see how long it is. It's pretty long. We'll be gathering that down to probably 12 inches. Here I'm cutting out the piece that will go at the top of the gather to hold it together. Basically a bias tape. And this clip I am pinning on the back piece to the white fabric, which is the lining, and so I'm cutting out lining for that in this clip. And then here I'm getting ready to cut out lining for the front waistband area, and that's what I'm doing right here, preparing that. Here, I've cut out the lining right there, and you can see they're about the same size. And there's all my pattern pieces that I've cut out, all ready to put together. Alright, here in this clip, I'm basically just gathering that big long piece I showed you earlier. And it's going to be the front part of the dress, the front part of the top of the dress. There we go. So just gathering it. I did 2 strands so it would gather easier. And here you can see the two stitches I did, and you just pull on them, and I'll pull them tight and gather them up like this. And in this clip, I'm just pulling just 2 of the strings, the 2 top strings, and cinching it down until it's gathered enough. Okay, so here you can see this piece of fabric that's going to go over the top, and right now I'm pinning it on so I can flip it over and sandwich the raw edges inside. And here I have it all pinned together. I'm just stretching out the gathers to make sure it's all equal and getting that ready to put on so I can sew it together. And here it's all pinned together. This is the front half of the dress, the top, and the gathered part is the upper part, and then the smooth part, that's the waist, and that's all ready to be sewed. And here it's all sewn together. and I'm going to eventually put a top stitch. Alright, so here I'm cutting the center of the back in half so I can put in buttons. And so that's what I did. I did it both on the lining and the back fabric so they would line up. And here I'm making sure that the two pieces line up and fit properly, that they're about the same size. So my idea for the buttons is kind of like this shirt where there's elastic going around the buttons, those little loops. Then I don't have to make the buttonholes. So that's what I'm going to do along the back. Here I'm getting ready to sew all the lining together, which I'm going to do first. So here I'm just pinning them all together so I can sew them up. So here I'm laying out the top and then the lining over top of it to see how it'll lay out. And I'll just fold that top piece over to hide the raw edges. So here I laid it out, so that's kind of what it'll look like once they're sewn together. It just covers up all the raw edges in there. And here I'm lining up the fabric that the actual dress is made out of. I'm lining up the side here and pinning it. Just finishing the pinning, and here I have it all pinned up along the sides and ready to sew. Same with the other side. And there's the lining that will go on top. Alright, here I'm sewing the lining together. Alright, here's the lining all sewn up and it's ready to be pinned on. Here's the seam, which will go wrong sides together so that they fit. And now in this clip, I am hemming the sleeve, I think. And for the hem, I just did double fold it and did a stitch. Just nice and simple. And here you can see I finished sewing the side up. It looks nice and good. And I did that for both sides. And here I pin the lining in to get it ready to sew together. And here I'm just top stitching the waist area to make it look nice and finished. And the top stitching I did also caught the lining in the back to hold that in place. Here you can see how long I gathered it to, about 11 inches. And then I pinned on that piece to hide the edges. And that's all ready to be sewn. And here you can see it's all sewn up. And I put them right sides together. And then it'll be folded over like that. And once it's sewn together, it'll kind of look like that. So I'm sewing it right there. Just top stitching it and to secure it nice and tight. So here in this clip, I'm folding over the two edges of the back, and I'm doing that with the lining as well, and that's where we're going to sandwich the ribbon that I'm going to use for my button loops in, and also the button flap. And I cut a bunch of ribbon up, and in this clip I am just attaching all those little ribbons as button loops. So basically I just folded them over and sandwiched them in between the lining and the fabric. So I got all those in place, and then I'll just top stitch it down to hold them in place. And that's how the buttons will look once I sew them on. So this is the button flap. So when it's buttoned together, there won't be a gap. You'll just see that fabric beneath. And we'll sew the buttons on this side. And here you can see where I top stitched that button flap together, and it caught the lining on the other side, so now it's nicely sandwiched in between. And I've got all the buttons sewed on. I sewed 9 buttons altogether. Here I'm just seam ripping the gathering thread out so it looks nice. So in this clip I actually ended up adding another inch to both sides of the back because it was a bit too small for me. So I just cut it in half, each side panel, and added an inch of fabric, both of the lining and the back. So there we go, I just top stitched them in. And here I am gathering again. So basically I did the same thing with the sleeves as I did with the front, gathering it and then putting that bias fabric or whatever to hide the raw edges of the gathered area. And here it's all nice and sewn together, and I top stitched it, and it's looking good. So now I'm getting ready to attach the sleeves onto the bodice of the dress, and I've got one side attached, so basically I just opened it up, laid it flat, I made sure to line up the two side seams of the sleeve and the bodice, and now I'm pinning them together, right sides together. And here's the fun part, gathering the ruffle that would go at the very bottom of the skirt. And this took a very long time. And here I'm just gathering and gathering and gathering. Took a long time. But basically I just pulled the two strings and shuffled it on down until it was nice and ruffled. And here I'm sewing the ruffle onto the bottom of the skirt. And voila! The ruffle's all done. And it looks pretty good. And I'm pretty sure I made it a half circle skirt because that's all the fabric I had. So I'm trying it out to see how it fits. It turns out pretty good. Here I'm measuring the length of the skirt so I can make sure to make the lining skirt just a tiny bit shorter so you can't really see it underneath the skirt of the dress. The skirt 29 inches in length, and so I pinned out the bottom so I knew where to cut, and I used the measuring tape to make it kind of like a circle. And here I'm just pinning the two skirts together, and then I sewed it along the waistband, so it was basically one skirt. And then I sewed the skirt to the bodice and hemmed it, and the dress was pretty much done. Okay, my favorite part of this is definitely the skirt. definitely the skirt. And also like the ruffle on the bottom. I mean, the rest of the dress, it's okay, but I definitely like the skirt the best. Something I do not like doing, I did putting buttons from the right here coming up to the top. No, not like button. I couldn't do that. But I also put a zipper in there, and that looks way better. I was gonna do a zipper in the first part before I did the buttons, but I thought it would be too complicated. But it wasn't. I put buttons, which is way more complicated than a zipper. And then, after I finished the dress, I decided I put a zipper in. It works so much better. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first. Anyways, I don't know, the sleeves, they're okay. They're just not exactly how I pictured it. I like the poofy part here, but then it gives these weird things here. It's gathered too much, I think. Right here, it would look better. I don't like that. I don't know. I mean, they look nice like this, but when they're close, it just looks bunched up and weird. But other than that, I like how it turned out. It's pretty comfortable. Oh, also, I did 2 layers. This is the lining of the skirt. And it's just, I think it's a half circle skirt or a 3/4 circle skirt. Or full circle. I'm not sure. One of those. And I just sewed it inside like this. And here's the top. Super pretty. And right now I'm wearing a black tone underneath because it's cold out. And this is kind of a summer dress. And raised up the sleeves on it. And yeah. Thank you for watching. And hopefully you liked seeing me make this. And it actually turned out pretty good. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe would be nice, and share would be even nicer. Thank you. Goodbye.